The ship of the desert, camels. Careful, they spit. Picture Abraham crossing the desert, and you likely imagine him riding a camel. But many archaeologists argue that this image is historically impossible, an anachronism inserted by later writers. Today we're looking at the Great Camel Debate. When did these beasts of burden actually become domesticated, and why does it matter for dating the Bible? Hello everyone, this is Gilgamesh. If you want to learn more about this fascinating topic, and I hope you do, I have some recommended reading in the description that I used when I was preparing this. Camels appear prominently in the stories of the patriarchs, including Abraham and Jacob, where they are depicted as significant assets and means of transport. Abraham is described as owning camels, Genesis 12:16, and they are listed among Jacob's extensive flocks and tributes in Genesis 30:43 and 32:15. This highlights their value as a form of wealth. Abraham's servant uses 10 camels for his journey to Aram Naharaim to find a wife for Isaac, and Rebekah subsequently mounts camels for her journey to Isaac in Genesis 24:10-67. Jacob uses camels as pack animals when preparing to meet Esau in Genesis 32:8 and verse 16. A significant point of discussion among scholars is the anachronistic presence of camels in these early narratives. The Genesis narratives presuppose widespread domestication of camels in the 2nd millennium BCE. However, most archaeological research indicates that camels were not domesticated as beasts of burden earlier than the late 2nd millennium BCE and were not widely used in this capacities in the ancient Near East until well after 1000 BCE Iron Age. Scholars like John Van Setters and Thomas Thompson argue that these anachronisms are crucial for dating and understanding the historical context of the patriarchal stories, suggesting an intensive period of writing in the 8th and 7th centuries BCE. The mention of camel caravans carrying gum, balm, and myrrh in the Joseph story in Genesis 37:25 specifically points to familiarity with the lucrative Arabian trade that flourished under the Assyrian Empire in the 8th to 7th centuries BCE. Some scholars suggest that while not generally employed, camels might have been used in some restricted sense for long desert journeys in earlier periods, or that their inclusion is an inadvertent anachronism because they became so deeply associated with desert travel in the minds of later writers and audiences. However, other scholars, such as Kenneth Kitchen, have argued in favor of evidence demonstrating domestication of camels as early as the 19th century BCE, noting their presence on cylinder seals from Syria and other artifacts. My thanks to Dr. Henry Abramson, who pointed this out in a recent video of his. I will link it here. Camels are mentioned in the plague of Murrain, where Pharaoh's camels, along with other livestock, are afflicted in Exodus 9:3. This reference is also considered anachronistic, as domesticated camels were scarce in Egypt before the Greek period. No native Egyptian term or hieroglyph for the beast is known. The actual setting of the Exodus story is typically placed in the 13th century BCE. During the period of the Judges and early Monarchy, camels are primarily associated with nomadic groups and their military activities. The Midianites and Amalekites are frequently depicted using camels in warfare and raids against Israel. Judges 6:5, Judges 7:12, Judges 8:21, more. Their military superiority was linked to their camel corps. The development of the Midianite camel cavalry is noted as occurring around the 11th century BCE, making a significant shift in their military capabilities. This is contrasted with the absence of camels in the spoil from the war against the Midianites in Numbers 31, which suggests that account originated before the 11th century. Camels were also used by nomads for escaping from battle and capture, as in 1 Samuel 30:17. In later biblical literature, camels are consistently linked to trade, wealth, and activities of Arabian tribes. The Queen of Sheba's caravan to Solomon included camels bearing spices in 1 Kings 10:2. Ben-Hadad of Damascus sent 40 camels bearing gifts to Elisha in 2 Kings 8:9. Camels are listed as booty taken from the Hagrites in 1 Chronicles 5:21 and as part of David's possessions in 1 Chronicles 27:30. Isaiah 60 verse 6 describes Midianite camels bringing wealth, indicating their role as freight carriers and symbols of abundance. Jeremiah 49 verse 29 and verse 32, and Ezekiel 27 verses 20 through 21, and Ezekiel 25:5 mention camels in connection with Arabian tribes like Kedar, highlighting their involvement in trade and their vulnerability to plunder. Kedarite Arabs assisted the Assyrians and the Persians with supplies during their campaigns against Egypt, demonstrating the camel's crucial role in desert logistics. Assyrian release from Shalmaneser III, 859 to 825 BCE, and Tiglath-Pileser III, 745 to 727 BCE, depict camels as tribute and booty from Arabs. Camels are mentioned as part of the possessions of those returning from exile in Ezra 2:67 and Nehemiah 7:69. The Hebrew word behemah is a general term for beast, cattle, or domestic animal, and can refer to camels in Isaiah 36. The Mosaic Law prohibits the eating of camel meat in Leviticus 11:4 and Deuteronomy 14:7. In prophetic visions of the New Jerusalem, the wealth of nations, including camels, is brought to Zion, symbolizing divine blessing and restoration in Isaiah 60, verses 5 through 6. The domestication of the camel was pivotal for the emergence of Bedouin as specialized camel breeders. This facilitated the formation of purely nomadic tribes independent of peasant villagers. Camels provided food, milk and meat, fuel, dung, clothing, hair, housing, leather, and, crucially, transport. This control over desert areas and the ability to trade transport services linked Bedouin with urban societies, leading to social stratification and, at times, aggressive and predatory behavior. The rise of Bedouin tribes is seen as a consequence of and reaction to the emergence of empires like the Assyrian Empire of the 8th and 7th centuries BCE. The Tel Jemmeh faunal assemblage shows a dramatic increase in camel bones in the 7th century BCE, primarily from mature animals, supporting their use as beasts of burden in caravans during a period of significant Assyrian involvement in the Arabian trade. Putting it all together, camels in the Hebrew Bible serve as indicators of wealth, crucial means of transportation, and significant factors in both nomadic warfare and international trade. While their presence in early narratives is often disputed as anachronistic, reflecting later periods of composition, there is some evidence to support their presence, and their role becomes historically more grounded in the accounts of the judges, the early monarchy, and later prophetic and post-exilic texts, aligning with the archaeological evidence of their widespread use and impact on Near Eastern societies. I hope you found this useful. And if you'd like to support this channel and help me bring more content like this to the internet, please consider a membership if you're in a position to do so, or just simply like and subscribe and share this with your friends and on social media. It really helps out the channel. Shalom.